Welcome to another segment of Manifest with SI Power with your host Dwight. On this segment, we're going to talk about the inner child, inner teenager, and shadows. So we know that reality creation or reality is a mirror reflection. Law of correspondence: as above, so below, as within, so without. So basically, what is happening inside of you reflects back on the outside of you, right? And so, you have a higher self, you have a lower self, right? And so the one that you lean towards the most is the one that's controlling things, right? So your lower self is operating off your five senses: see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. Whereas your higher self is revealing stuff to you via intuition. But if you're distracted by your ego, you can't receive the information, and you basically do what you see do, or you give into the forces of average, so on and so forth. So the reason that this is happening is because, the 3D is the shadow world, right? A lot of people look at it for approval and validation, but it's a shell. It was because of what you were thinking and feeling and the story you were telling yourself. And at some point, it was birthed out of you and came into existence into your 3D reality. Now, looking at that for validation and approval is wrong, because that's old news. You know what I mean? Let the dead bury the dead. What you should be looking at and making adjustments is in your inner conversation, your internal dialogue, your conscious auto-suggestion, your self-talk, movements within you. That's the only way you can change what's on the outside of you, because there's really no out there. It's just all the inner you, and it's being expressed. So you need shadow work, right? You need to see the dark areas where you can't see. You need somebody that's outside of you to point out your blind spots, point out your shadows and frames. Now let's talk about the inner child. Now, there are some things that you probably witnessed between the ages of 4 and 7, and you not having full perspective. You probably judged it, or labeled it, or gave meaning to it, and it was a one-off, or it may have happened 2 times, or it may have happened 3 times, but nothing is cast in stone in life, and everything is subject to change. It's based on your point of view, your perception, and things of that nature. So you do have to make peace with your inner child and inner teenager. Situations that may have been unfavorable, where somebody might have promised you something, or there could have been an experience that you experienced, and so on and so forth. So you have to go back and make peace with that situation, so you can begin to move forward. You can heal, and you can, evolve into the next best versions of yourself and reach your full potential. It's just something that you got to do. So the shadows, the blind spots got to be pointed out, and you have to, go back in and just, say, hey, this was then. Is this still true now? So on and so forth. Or is this situation true? And then just move on from there. And then, the inner child and the inner teenager, forgiving yourself and forgiving adults that may have been involved, that had limited perspective, limited knowledge. Everyone was doing the best they could at the time. And so you got to make peace with all that and let that go, so you can lay hold on the future versions of you and the better experiences. So we're live on Manifest with SI Power with your host Dwight. We've been talking about shadows, blind spots, the inner child, the inner teenager, and making peace with all situations and just moving forward. I'd like to leave you with the quote from Stonewall Jackson: "They conquer who believe they can." Nothing is cast in stone. Everything is subject to change.